Welcome to Fat Boys Fantasy Sports. This is the inaugural episode. I'm Ken Rowland, and this is my brother Steve. He's over there somewhere. I'm not real sure.
Yeah. I'm Steve, and this is Fat Boys Fantasy Sports.
I said
And,
that already.
yeah, but I mean, I was just saying you can tell why. Because we talk about
Absolutely.
fantasy sports.
That is at least the goal with this web show, podcast, YouTube series, whatever it's going to be, right?
Yeah, and I think mostly football. We both love football. I love other sports too, but football seems to be the one that we talk about the most.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be into fantasy baseball a lot and fantasy basketball, but I don't really get into those two sports too much anymore. So maybe this will kind of jumpstart or reignite that flame within me for those two sports in fantasy. But being that football season's about to start, that's probably where we'll spend most of our focus.
You know what a fun fantasy sport to me is golf. I don't know anything about the players really, but it's fun because it's 4 days of actually it's the first 2 days, and if you have at least 5 of the 6 guys on your team make the cut, you feel like you have a chance to maybe make the money the last 2 days. So it could be a whole 4 day sweat, and that makes it kind of fun.
I haven't really gotten into golf too much, which is kind of surprising. I probably should get into it. I know a decent amount about most of the players in the game. It's just golf is like super volatile, I mean, there's a lot of people in it, and honestly, this day and age, this isn't the Tiger Woods heyday where you could pretty much pencil in Tiger Woods and guarantee yourself a made cut and 70% of the time a top 10 finish. Now there's so many other players in the PGA that are playing well. It's hard to pick those guys, man. It's just, if you don't know about them and what type of courses they enjoy to play, like long hitters do better here and short game players do better here. I can't even, I don't even know if I would.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know anything about it, but it's still been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Especially if you can get 5 guys across that cut line if you're playing on FanDuel.
That's got to be hard to do.
I don't play much on DraftKings, but I do think we're going to try to do DraftKings once we get into our daily fantasy stuff. Today's show, though, is going to be mostly about draft strategies. We're going to be talking about right now we're both getting in a lot of best ball leagues. And I don't know if you guys play a lot of best ball, but best ball drafts to me are fun. They're very strategic. There's a lot of work to do during the draft. And then once the draft's over, you basically never have to look at that team again.
Not basically, you don't.
I mean, I know, but that's the part that I love is I love waiver wires. I love moving players around. I love that kind of part. So once the best balls start, once the draft's over, to me they're kind of boring. But the drafts themselves are actually a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, the best ball leagues themselves are definitely boring. I enjoy the drafting part because, like, I mean, right now they're all slow drafts for the most part. I mean, you can go on different sites, different apps and things like that, and do some fast drafts. But for the most part, it's 8 hours per pick, 12 hours per pick, things like that. You can take your time. You don't have to stress out about, oh my God, who am I going to take on my next pick in 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. You got hours and hours and hours. But yeah, once the season starts, you're done. You're done with it. You don't do it. And for those of you that may not know what best ball is, like Steve was saying, you literally pick a roster of players, whatever site you're using, whatever app you're using, whatever they'll give you. This is how many players are going to start at each position. Here's your total roster. You pick those players. And then what it does, so like say your starting roster is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end. What it does is it goes through like week 1, all your players combine or score their points, and then the site itself will go through and pick the top running backs, the top quarterback, the top 3 wide receivers, and that's who you get points for.
Yeah, like what it's good for. Like if you have Melvin Gordon and he gets hurt in the middle of a game and they bring in, what's his name?
Austin Eckler or Justin Jackson.
Justin Jackson. If you have Austin Eckler on your team, you don't have to worry if Melvin Gordon goes down. If he scores more points than Melvin Gordon did before he went down, you get the points for Austin Eckler.
Right, which is kind of the cool part about best ball during a full season draft or a full season league. If you've got Melvin Gordon, and it doesn't matter if you got Austin Eckler on your bench, you've already started Melvin Gordon. If he gets hurt, you're done.
If he gets like he gets hurt on the first play, Nothing.
Right.
Or even if you do have Austin Eckler in a best ball and you have another running back that outscores both of them, you get the points for that other running back, even if he's on quote unquote your bench, because they do show players on your bench and players in your start.
Right. It's kind of funny to me. Like I was telling you, I was watching that web show, that fantasy web show the other day, and these guys were talking about how they knew a lot about fantasy sports and been playing in fantasy leagues for all these years. And I mentioned best ball format to them, and they were completely clueless. They had no idea what I was talking about. So I'm wondering how many people that play fantasy sports don't know that that option exists. Because there's a lot of people out there that like fantasy sports, but they've just gotten to the point where they don't have time to manage a team. Like
Right.
they want to go through the draft process. They want to go through, hanging out with friends and stuff like that during the draft process. But then the season comes along, life kicks them in the ass, and all of a sudden their team's sitting there with 4 injured players starting on their roster because they just either forgot about it or hadn't had the time to go back and manage their team.
Or you have to go to work on a Sunday and you didn't get to look at your lineup at all, and you have Pat Mahomes in there who you love, and it just has to be his bye week.
Right.
You forgot to switch him out. It's just
So
people do have a lot of problems with life, like you said, life getting in the way of your fantasy teams. But that's what best ball. If you love the draft process, that's what I like about best balls, the drafting. And then once you pick, the first 2 or 3 rounds in every draft are really easy. After round 4, to me, is where your league is won, where you find guys 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You start getting in 10, 11, 12th round. If you can find a guy that's going to put up numbers, starter numbers, and he's on your best ball team, you're going to get those points for him.
Let's talk about best ball strategy while we're here. I think that's kind of one of the things we wanted to talk about this episode. We wanted to talk about best ball strategy. We wanted to talk about full league or full season league strategy. That's your typical 10-man, 12-man, 14-man. You get with a group of people, you draft your team, you manage your team all year. Draft strategy there, and then we also kind of wanted to discuss some auction draft strategy, right?
Yeah, they're I know they're all drafts, but you approach each of them a little bit different.
Oh, absolutely. So let's get started with the best ball draft strategy. So do you personally have a specific strategy that you go for at best ball?
Well, best ball, just like any other draft, it depends on, like, I'm in a 12, let's say right now I'm in a 12-man. It's a slow draft, but it's a 12-man best ball league, and I just happen to be picking 12. Your first couple rounds, it's like any other draft. Wherever you're picking, if you're picking in the first 4, the middle 4, the last 4, pretty much decide right now whether you're picking running back. If you're in the first 4, you're probably taking a running back. In the middle, you're going between a running back or wide receiver. And then I think at the last 4, a lot of people are going wide receiver. But like I said, those first couple rounds and all 3 of these, what do you call them? All 3 of these different types of leagues, the strategy is about the same. It starts getting into best ball for me. I'm thinking my strategy is probably different than everybody else's, and that's what's kind of cool about it. The way I go into it, once I get my core, my team, the guys I think are really going, the first 4 rounds, I start getting into round 5, 6, 7. I start looking at offenses that I think you never know really who's going to go off. They score a lot of points every week, but one week it could be like on the Browns this week. One week it could be Odell Beckham. The next week it could be Jarvis Landry. So you never know who to start. But in best ball, you don't have to worry about it. I kind of attack teams like that. Like I'll try to get Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, and then maybe even go with a third wide receiver. Rashard Higgins this year I think is going to have a good year. But you never know which one of those 3 are going to go off. So I'll kind of try to get 2 or 3 guys off of an offense that I think is really going to be hot, and see if I can hit that way.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I think kind of what you said about where you're at in the first round is going to determine where you draft. To an extent, I think that's true. But I've noticed I'm in my 7th or 8th, maybe 10th. I don't know, best ball draft right now. And what I've noticed is almost always Saquon Barkley's number 1. Almost always Christian McCaffrey's number 2. After that, I've seen kind of a mixed bag of what gets taken. Now we might want to we'll stop there for a second, and we'll let everybody know that most best ball formats are PPR. They're either half PPR or full PPR, meaning points per reception league. So once you get into that PPR realm, being able to draft a running back that can catch the ball and score receiving touchdowns is huge. So, I mean, that's why you see people like Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey up towards the top of these best ball formats. You're also going to see Alvin Kamara up there as well, and David Johnson. But what starts to throw people off after that McCaffrey pick is usually the whole Ezekiel Elliott. Is he going to get a contract? Is he going to play this year? Because for almost every league I've been in, Ezekiel Elliott would have been a 3 or 4 pick. He would have been either 3 or 4 behind or intertwined with probably Alvin Kamara out of the Saints. So what I'm seeing a lot of people actually doing now is I'm seeing DeAndre Hopkins get drafted in that 4 or 5 area. I'm seeing Devontae Adams get up in there. I've actually seen Le'Veon Bell get in there a couple times. What do you think about taking a DeAndre Hopkins or a Devontae Adams or somebody of that nature over, say, an Ezekiel Elliott or a Le'Veon Bell or possibly even an Alvin Kamara?
Well, see, the thing with DeAndre Hopkins is he's a target monster. So I don't mind it personally because he is going his points. He's probably going to outscore Zeke in points.
I don't.
He's a target monster. What did he catch? 123 balls last year?
He caught 115 balls last year, but he had 163 targets.
160. Yeah, he's a target monster. If I can get, they have nobody else on that team, right?
Not really. I mean, they've got Will Fuller.
I like Will Fuller, but he's a. But anyways, so Zeke. Everybody is worried if he's going to sign or not. I personally feel like he's going to be there for game 1. I don't think there's any way he holds out the whole year.
Oh no, I think he would hold out. I think he would forego playing this season if he doesn't get signed. I don't think Jerry Jones will not sign him.
Yeah. Well, they have their window right now. They have a good team. They actually have a chance to win some games this year. So if you're Jerry Jones, do you pay him?
You have to, don't you?
You have to pay him.
He is the best player on their team. I don't care how much you like Dak Prescott. I don't care how much you like Amari Cooper. Ezekiel Elliott is the best player on the Dallas Cowboys. Offense, defense, special teams, it doesn't matter.
Zeke may actually be in the conversation for best player in the league.
I think without a doubt he's the best running back right now. I mean, Saquon Barkley's great. Todd Gurley's great if his knee's healthy. Zeke Elliott's a beast, man. I mean, he can do everything.
He can run. He can catch the ball.
And he's a great blocker.
Zeke catches that ball, and he does it better than anybody expected him to do. He didn't catch a lot of balls at Ohio State.
Not a lot, no, but they weren't an offense that really threw the ball to the
right. So nobody really knew he could do this.
Right.
But man, he can catch the ball.
So let's
soft, pretty hands.
Soft, pretty hands. Let's look at this. Let's look at this with the assumption that Zeke signs.
Okay.
Before game 1.
Do you take DeAndre over Zeke? Is that your question?
I take Zeke if I'm in the top 4 picks.
I take Zeke. But I love running backs. Everybody has been going to this 0 running back strategy for the last 2 or 3 years up until this year, where they're going the first 4 running backs. I hate that strategy. I love running backs. To me, the drop off between the second tier running backs and the third tier running backs is way bigger than the drop off between the second tier wide receivers. And that you can get wide receivers into the 9th, 10th round that are going to be number 1 wide receivers on their team. Like Kenny Stills is still out there. Their quarterback situation in Miami is bad. Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker are going in the 12th, 13th round of best ball leagues.
In best ball league, I'll take Kenny Stills and Devontae Parker, but I'm not going to take them before the 10th, 12th round. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. You can still get them there.
Right.
And one of those two is going to be the number 1 receiver in that.
That's the thing about best ball league, though, especially when you're drafting a wide receiver in the 10th or 12th round. It doesn't matter if they're the number one wide receiver. At that point, you're just looking for a guy that is going to have a game, 2 games, 3 games where he goes off. That's all you're looking for. That's part of the thing I wanted to get into with the draft strategy thing. So, like you were saying, your first 2, 3, 4 rounds are pretty set. There's a list of guys you're typically going to follow ADP to an extent. Like, you're not necessarily going to look at the ADP list and go, okay, well, the next guy on the board is ADP. He's the next one on my list, so I got to take him. I mean, you're going to take based on what your team needs. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about later on in the draft, the type of strategy. You said you're looking for offenses that have multiple people that can have output.
You never know.
I don't necessarily look for that. What I'm looking for is a guy that's got a lot of skill, a guy that's got the potential to just go off. I don't need the guy that I drafted in my 10th round to carry my wide receiving crew. I need the guy I drafted in my 10th round to have one good week, one really, really good week, 2 good weeks, 3 good, something like that, or potentially fill in for when one of my studs is on a bye week. This guy comes in and has a great week. So that's the kind of people I'm looking for late in a best ball draft.
Well, like I'm looking right at this ADP right here. Like Kenny Stills, Mohamed Sanu, and Devontae Parker are all going right around the same area. Looks like maybe 13th, 14th round. Between Kenny Stills and Mohamed Sanu, who would you rather have? Mohamed Sanu is probably the third receiver in that offense, right?
He's definitely the third receiver in that offense.
Kenny
You got
Stills,
Julio Jones, and you got the dude from Alabama.
The dude from Alabama.
Whatever the hell his name is. He's a beast.
Yeah.
He might actually be the number one in that offense this year.
He might, because he outscored Julio Jones last year. He had 10 touchdowns last year, I think. Julio only had like 3. Julio had more yards, of course.
Calvin Ridley.
Jesus. But but see, that's what I'm saying. Kenny Stills is probably going to be the target monster in that Miami offense. Even if they're not a good offense, they're going to score points.
Yeah, but Kenny Stills has always kind of been a burner too. He's always been kind of a Will Fuller type receiver, though. He's always been the guy that gets behind the defense and catches the bomb. So
okay, well then Devontae Parker, one of those two. They're all 3 right there.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, deep in a draft, you can get one of these guys. I would rather have Kenny Stills than Mohamed Sanu any day, though.
At that level of the draft, yeah. I mean, Kenny Stills is more likely to go off than Mohamed Sanu. Mohamed Sanu is going to, I'm a Bengals fan. He played for the Bengals for years. I know what that dude is.
Oh, he's good.
He might get you a big catch.
But he's on a team
a big down the field catch one time every 2-3 games. Most of the time he's going to be he's your third down receiver. He's the guy that's going to move the chains for you, and that's not going to get you big fantasy production.
Right. And he's on a team with the target monster, fucking Julio Jones, who's a beast. And then you got Calvin Ridley, who, like you said, this year might even be better than Julio.
Right.
I don't know. Best ball drafts, running backs, though, they're gone. They disappear quick.
Oh, I'm running into that problem right now. I'm drafting one of my best ball drafts. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I think it's a 12 team. Actually, I think it's the league I'm getting ready to draft a player in right now. Yeah, so I mean, I got the 11th pick, and when it came to me, my options were basically Travis Kelce, Mike Thomas. I don't even remember what the running backs were. So I went ahead and took Kelce, right? I mean, how do you not take the best fantasy tight end in the league at the end of the first round when you're going to swing around and get another pick 3 picks later? So I ended up with Kelce, and then I got Mike Thomas. But then when it came to running backs, man, my next pick, I'm sitting there with Josh Jacobs, the rookie from Oakland. I've got my pick is up right now. It's the 4th round. Here are my running back options: Melvin Gordon, Derrick Henry, David Montgomery, Chris Carson, Mark Ingram, Sony Michel, James White, Phillip Lindsay. This is going to be my second running back.
Can I tell you? Okay. Chris Carson, I think, is going to be a monster this year.
I think he is too. I've been taking him over all of those guys that I just named, and I'm in the process of pressing the draft button on Chris Carson as you're saying that.
I come around on my 4th round, and my 12th man I just finished. I had basically the same options, but I took Derrick Henry.
See, the problem with Derrick Henry, though, man, I don't know if you realize this. His stats last year are so skewed because he had one game where he had almost 300 yards rushing and like 4 touchdowns.
Right.
So his overall 1,000 yards rushing that he had on the season, I think he had what, like 1,080 or 1,100 yards rushing or something like that. And I think he only had like 9 touchdowns. So aside from that one game where he just absolutely went ballistic, his stats were very mediocre.
This was okay. This is how fast things move in my mind in fantasy football. That pick was 2 days ago, and I wasn't on Chris Carson yet. I just over the last couple of days started getting on Chris Carson.
Okay.
So I think that the more the stuff that's coming out of Seattle, they're really wanting to be a running team this year. They want to run the ball.
Well, it's not just that. Chris Carson can catch.
Yeah, he can catch, but I mean, they're going to focus. He's got Rashard Penny there, who I think people were taking him before they're taking Carson, right?
They're not now. They're not now.
Okay.
Last year when they were they both rookies last year? I think they were both rookies last year. Penny was the guy. Penny was the guy that all the fantasy gurus, all the experts were talking about. Rashard Penny is going to be the guy that has that job. That, boy, were they wrong.
Okay, one more question real quick. I got another question about running backs. LaShawn McCoy, is he still the man in Buffalo?
I don't think he is, because I know what you're saying. He is so far down there. It's not even funny. Let me look up the running back depth charts right now. 2019 NFL running back depth chart. I don't know if he's still the man or not. Is he still having legal issues, or did all that finally get dropped?
I don't think he's having any legal issues. Not that I've heard, but.
So Buffalo.
He's going in the same area as Carlos Hyde, who's in Kansas City now, if anybody didn't know. And Carlos Hyde, I don't think he's even going to be noticed in that offense.
In San Francisco?
No, he's in Kansas City.
Kansas City. No, he won't unless their running back just sucks.
Which he won't suck.
Running back depth chart currently for the Buffalo Bills has LaShawn McCoy listed as number 1 with Frank Gore as his backup.
See,
and then
my age, 50.
And then TJ Yeldon, followed by the rookie Devin Singletary. So yeah, I mean,
that LaShawn McCoy could be a steal. I don't think he's ever going to be the LaShawn McCoy he was 2 years ago, but I think it could be a steal right there. But the next guy going after him in most drafts is Kareem Hunt, who's not even going to be available to play until week 10.
What is LaShawn McCoy's ADP in best ball leagues?
Right now, they got him going about 126.
So yeah, right now he's the 37th running back coming off the board in ADP leagues. That's crazy to me. They got him behind Royce Freeman, who's the backup in Denver, Latavius Murray, who's the backup in New Orleans, Rashad Penny, who's the backup in Seattle.
He's behind Carlos Hyde, who's the 3rd running back in KC. Well, Carlos might be the 2nd running back, but he's not going to.
You know why? Because Josh Allen's the number 1 running back in Buffalo.
That's true. That's true, but that's the same thing in Baltimore. They're running back. Lamar Jackson is the running game in that.
Right.
On that team. But Jaylen Samuels is the backup in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I just don't see him getting on. Pittsburgh doesn't like to use 2 running backs. Pittsburgh, if they pick a running back and they use him till he dies. I don't really.
Or he holds out for a season.
Justin Jackson is the 3rd running back in LA.
Well, he might be the 2nd running back.
Eckler?
I don't think Gordon's going to sign, dude.
You don't think he's going to sign?
I don't think.
Oh yeah, it's getting brutal there, isn't
it? San Diego's always had problems paying people. I mean, this starts from day one. I mean, look at how many draft picks have held out on them, and not necessarily because of the pay, because that's kind of set now with the new CBA. But it's other contract language. I mean, they don't negotiate, man. It's like, sorry, you've got a contract. You'll play under that contract. And if you don't, see ya. I mean, they don't care.
So you're right. He may.
And I know last year when Gordon got hurt, I believe Austin Eckler was the main man, but Justin Jackson put up some good numbers.
He did.
I think that would be a running back by committee type situation in San Diego. So I could see possibly taking him over LaShawn McCoy.
You said it.
What? I did say San Diego, didn't I?
Yeah. It's hard, man. It's been a couple years now, and I'm still saying it.
Well, I mean, they're still not even playing, and they don't have their own stadium yet, do they?
No.
It's not done.
The Raiders won't be in Las Vegas until next year. So, I don't know. Right around that area, but those guys still, though, that's the running backs you're looking at in the 12th round. And
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Compared to the wide receiver. And then the tight ends you're looking at in the 12th round, there's a lot of people saying Mark Andrews out of Baltimore is going to have a really good year. He's still available.
I want to say he had a pretty good year last year.
He did, and I think it's just going to keep getting better because Jackson can't. I'm not saying he can't throw the ball, but if he can have a security blanket, he's going to use it. But he looks to run more than anything. And
did Andrews get hurt last year? I think Mark Andrews got hurt last year. Well, no. It says he played 16 games, had 34 catches for 550 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he's only projected for 40 receptions this year, but I think it's going to be higher than that. But then you got Kyle Rudolph, who at one time before Kirk Cousins got to Minnesota was the main target, but now you got Stephon Diggs there, and you got your boy there. Who's the guy that you love?
Oh, Adam Thielen?
Adam Thielen. So
he's the guy I love because in PPR leagues, he outscores almost every receiver and doesn't get any credit for it.
I know, but I'm just saying Kyle Rudolph's his stock went way down. Now you got those two guys there. Stephon Diggs is good, but Adam Thielen might be better. But they're both target monsters.
Oh, they are. Now, the tight ends that I'm looking at here on this it's a ADP for Best Ball League. They've got Kyle Rudolph as the 16th tight end being taken behind people I've never heard of. Specifically, one person I've never heard of. Who the hell is Chris Herndon the fourth from the Jets?
Is he the backup tight end? Because they have another tight end there.
They got him listed as the number 1 tight end for the Jets.
Okay. Huh. Man, when you don't keep up on stuff, it really messes with you. But there's guys going after him that I remember when just 2 years ago, Delaney Walker was probably the number 5 tight end in the league.
Yeah, but he's your age.
Yeah, but he was a beast. What happened to him?
I think a lot of what is bringing his value down is their quarterback. I mean, Marcus Mariota is not very well received right now.
He's in a battle for the starting job.
Right.
With Tannehill. And real quick, two more tight ends I want to mention. One, I will never draft. I don't care if he does have a career rise and he becomes great again. Jimmy Graham. No other tight end in the NFL has let me down in fantasy football more than Jimmy Graham.
I was all over Jimmy Graham last year going to the freaking Packers, man. I couldn't wait.
Nothing. And then Greg Olsen. You talk about a drop.
Yeah, what happened to that dude?
I don't understand why he's so low. He's going after Mark Andrews. And
is he hurt?
No, I don't think so.
Says we've made it through another offseason and Olsen is still playing football. He's considered retirement multiple times, but he's returning because his life is probably easier with DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel on the field. The bad news is he's no longer the number 1 target in the offense, and he's continually losing targets to Christian McCaffrey, who set the record for receptions by a running back.
Curtis Samuel's going to have a really if you do not know this, Cam Newton's shoulder is fine.
Newton's shoulder is fine, yes.
He is back he's throwing bombs. A very underrated quarterback this year. If you get him, you can get him late. You stole him, I think. If you can get him in the 9th, 10th round in your regular drafts, I think you're still in him.
Dude, I'm targeting his receiver Curtis Samuel in every league format. not just because I've got a Buckeyes flag hanging behind me, but Curtis Samuel's going to be really good this year, I think. He's one of those guys you can pick up in the middle to later rounds in best ball leagues, like 6, 7, 8. Usually you can get him somewhere in that 6, 7, 8 range in a best ball.
Right.
But yeah, that's back to your point, though. I mean, the depth at wide receiver is much, much better in a best ball league than running back. So I think going back to our best ball strategy, if you're going to take anything early, it should have a focus on running back, at least until you get one. I mean, you really got to get one solid running back that you know is going to produce week in and week out. After that, you can take chances and hope the rest of your team just scores enough points to get you by. But where are you drafting quarterbacks in best ball leagues?
My next pick is going to be 11, the 12th pick in the 11th round.
And you haven't taken a quarterback yet?
I haven't taken a quarterback yet. And the guy's still out here. Andrew Luck, Jameis Winston, Drew Brees, Jared Goff.
Oh, yeah.
Russell Wilson still out there. I think Josh Allen. Yeah, I mean, well, Tom Brady's still out there. Here's a guy, though, that I think I'm going to maybe wait, and I'm going to get him real late. And I think he's going to have a better year than anybody else is thinking. I don't hear anybody talking about him at all. And it's probably a good reason because it's the Jets. But I think Sam Darnold is going to have a really good year this year.
Who's he throwing the ball to? Robbie Anderson and Le'Veon Bell?
Okay. And that Hernandez guy you said, that tight end.
Oh, yeah. Hernandez the fourth.
So, but just that's a guy I really think is better than people thought he was. I'm a Browns fan, and yeah, I'm happy we got Baker Mayfield. But at the time, I thought we should have drafted Darnold.
Everybody thought you should have drafted Darnold. I don't know how you can say he's going to be better than people thought he was going to. Going into the draft, up until the day before when all of a sudden the rumors came out about the Browns taking Mayfield, everybody thought Darnold was the number one pick in the NFL.
Or Barkley.
No, I don't think Barkley was ever really mentioned because they knew the Browns had to get a quarterback. They couldn't. I don't know.
Well, I like Sam Darnold this year. I like Baker Mayfield too, but I'm never going to be able to get him because people are drafting him higher than I think he should go. But
yeah, he's been going off the board like the fourth, fifth quarterback.
That's just a personal opinion for me. That's how I draft my leagues. I don't see a big difference in the number one quarterback and the number 8, 9, 10 quarterback. I mean, there might be, yeah, you're going to look at 100 points difference in there, but if I feel like I could make those points up where I draft my running backs and wide receivers.
I agree with that, and I think that goes for all league formats.
Yeah, I do too. So I just think Jameis Winston can score as many points this year as Pat Mahomes does. I mean, he just can. I mean, it might not happen, but he has the ability to.
Does he?
He can run the ball. Oh yeah, that. I know you're not a Winston fan, but you don't have to be. That's the thing about fantasy football. If their defense is not good and their offense is always on the field and he's throwing the ball, he's always behind. You got a chance with a quarterback. Are you looking at the difference in points?
How many quarterbacks are you taking in best ball?
In my best ball leagues, I take 3 quarterbacks. If one of them gets hurt, and then the other, then you got your other guy and he goes into a bye week. If he hadn't made it to his bye week yet, you get 0 points that week.
Right.
That's why I take 3.
Yeah, I usually pull down three quarterbacks, 3 tight ends, and then that's what, 6. So you have 12 spots left on an 18 man roster. It's usually either 6 and 6 on running backs and wide receivers, or 7 and 5.
I go 7 and 5. Wide receivers, I try to get 7. Running backs, I can't find 7 running backs. I just can't. I can't find. You can barely find 6.
You got to go for those deepers, those deep sleepers, man.
Okay, that's one more thing before we get off of best ball. I think you're about ready to get off of it. But were there any rookie running backs drafted this year that you think might have the chance to be like Chubb was last year for the Browns.
Yeah, the guy. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just say Chubb came in, was drafted by the Browns. They had Carlos Hyde there, so nobody really thought he was going to run the ball, and he didn't much for the first 4 or 5 games. And then the Browns traded away Carlos Hyde, and Chubb stepped in and never looked back.
So no, as far as not really doing much for 4 or 5 games and then taking over, no, I don't really know that I see anybody like that. But I mean, Josh Jacobs for the Raiders, he's their number one. And by all accounts, he's pretty damn good. So I could see him having a Nick Chubb type year, rookie year anyway.
Right.
Maybe even a little better, just because, we talked about this before we started. Nick Chubb didn't really play for 3 or 4 games, and his last game of the season was terrible. I mean, just terrible. So he might even do a little bit better than Chubb did last year. And then you got the guy, David Montgomery from Chicago. He's listed as their number one. And then also, I think in Philadelphia, their number one right now is a rookie. Can't remember his name. I'm trying to find him here on my ADP list.
Yeah, I've been hearing about him, but Philadelphia, I think, is going to use all 3 of their running backs.
Miles Sanders.
Yeah,
Philadelphia's definitely, they got Jordan Howard, man.
Right.
How does Jordan Howard go from one of the better running backs in the NFL while in Chicago to all of a sudden traded to Philadelphia, where his job is he's now relegated to the backup to a rookie?
Right.
How does that happen?
He might take that back over.
He very well could. So, yeah, I think.
And this Justice Hill kid. I've been hearing a lot about Justice Hill, man.
I think he's going to be good, but I don't think he's going to be that great fantasy-wise, just because they got Lamar Jackson, and Mark Ingram's going to take up at least half the carries. So if you got Mark Ingram taking up half the carries, you got the carries that Lamar Jackson's taking up.
I forgot Mark Ingram was in Baltimore this year.
Yeah.
Thought about that. He's still good.
Yeah, he is. The Saints are actually mad that he left. They wanted him to re-sign, but they didn't offer him as much as Baltimore did, I guess. But how would you like to be Mark Ingram?
Right.
I mean, you're in New Orleans. You're the man, right? And then all of a sudden they bring in this Alvin Kamara dude.
Yeah, right.
Everybody's like, who the hell's Alvin Kamara? Like, is that kid that played for Tennessee? And he blows up, catches everything. I mean, the dude doesn't drop a pass, and nobody can tackle him. So Mark Ingram's like, I got to get out of here, man. Signs a free agent deal with Baltimore, and then they go out and they're like, hey, let's draft this Justice Hill guy.
Yeah, and
everybody right, go ahead.
Oh, everybody's saying he's the next Alvin Kamara.
Right. Mark Ingram's got to be like, man, I just can't catch a break.
I like Mark Ingram. But was he in Alabama?
He was an Alabama guy, yeah.
Alabama running backs don't do very well, really, historically anyways. But he's
done all right. I mean, Derrick Henry hasn't been terrible. I mean, he's not been great, but he's not been terrible.
Yeah, but you can give him the ball 30 times a game.
Well, it's because he's the size of the house you're sitting in.
He's a freaking monster. All right, so any conclusions, any final thoughts on best ball drafts?
Well, just in my opinion, I think what you said makes a lot of sense. I think, your first 4 rounds are going to be pretty steady. You're gonna do what your roster says you need to do, but after that, you need to go with your gut. I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, in especially best ball. They'll see a run on a position and they'll think, "Oh shit, I got to grab that.
Got to get a tight end." Everybody's taking tight ends.
Right, and go with your gut. If you're sitting there and you've already got 1 tight end, you've already got 2 running backs, you've already got 3 wide receivers. 3? I did that for 3, by the way. You've already got 3 wide receivers. Take whoever the best player available is, the guy that you think is going to go out there and have some big games, somebody that's going to give you the opportunity to put up a big score. Just 1 week. That's all you need from these guys you're drafting late round.
Yep. And we're going to talk about more draft strategies, right?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to have to make them a little quicker, though. We went a little over.
But we've talked about a lot of players in this.
Right.
When we get to because I got a final thought on drafting that I'll get to at the very end. But
okay.
So now we're going to switch over to season long.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot we got to talk about with
Not the
season long,
It's
right?
just draft strategy we'll talk about with this.
Okay.
There's not much difference in this in best ball, only and I think in a season long draft, you're looking more for stability. Like in best balls at the end of the round, I think maybe still you're looking for home run hitters towards the end of the late rounds anyways.
But later in the draft, I believe for full season leagues.
Right.
Like you can't go for a big hitter in round 6, 7 and miss.
You have, and in your season longs, you have to hit, like we said, the first 4 rounds are pretty much set. You go by ADP, but in your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rounds, those middle 4 rounds, you have to hit on your draft picks. You can't draft a guy that's just going to be the backup in Baltimore. You can't draft Justice Hill
right,
in one of those rounds,
unless you have Mark Ingram,
right.
Because that's where handcuffs come in a lot more.
Are you handcuffing that early?
5, 6, 7, probably not. No, definitely not. What you're doing, I think the difference between best ball leagues and standard full season drafts is you're looking for starters. You're looking for guys that you know are going to get the ball. And I think that's where the comment that you made earlier about looking for good offenses with bad defenses, I think that comes more into play in a standard league format, full season long league format, than it does in best ball, because you know their offense is going to be on the field. You know they're going to score points. Look at Kansas City, for example. Last year, Kansas City had like the 27th or 26th ranked defense, but the number 1 offense by far. They had the number 1 offense, not just because of Patrick Mahomes, but they had the number 1 offense because they were always on the field.
Always. Yeah.
So,
but an offense like that also wears your defense down. It makes them worse. They're only off the field for 5 plays and they're back. You
right.
Touchdown 5 plays and they're back on the field. But so those things go hand in hand.
So how early are you drafting Patrick Mahomes? Are you one of those guys that's saying I'm not drafting him because he's going to go higher than I would ever draft a quarterback? Because that's me.
That's me too. But some people do like, if you really want to get Pat Mahomes, you're going to have to draft him in the first round.
Maybe the early second.
I don't. There's going to be somebody in your league that's going to take him 8, 9.
I agree. Or like those guys we were watching the other day, 4th overall.
Yeah, 4th overall. There's no way I'm picking him. And see, that's why I'll never have Pat Mahomes, because I won't take a quarterback that early. I know he's going to score 100 more points than the second or third quarterback.
I disagree with that, though. We've talked about this before. He scored 100 more points than the second quarterback last year. You know how many touchdowns Patrick Mahomes had from inside the 3-yard line? 9. He had 9 passing touchdowns with his team inside the 3-yard line.
Oh, so they didn't hand the ball off at all.
Right. I mean, there's a very good, just as likely as it is for him to score 50 or throw 50 touchdowns again, I think it's just as likely that he throws 30 or 35.
That's true. Yeah. So, and that's right. There's going to be a lot of there's no way he's throwing 50 touchdown passes this year.
You're right. He might throw 60.
No, I don't have any reputation at all yet in this world, but I'm staking my reputation on saying Pat Mahomes does not throw 50 touchdown passes this year.
God, I hope he throws 51.
But I would still be right though. But so, I don't draft quarterbacks that early. But see, that's what I wanted to get to when I said I got a final thought. And my fantasy footballs, you need to have fun with it.
Yep.
If you want Pat Mahomes, draft Pat Mahomes. This is your team.
Yep.
You're the one drafting this team. And
I wouldn't do it.
And I would crack on you. If I'm in that draft with you, I will crack on you. I'll give you shit. I can't when I first got in this league that I'm in with Ken, there were guys in there that would draft people way before I thought they should be drafted. And I gave them shit. I didn't know none of these guys. I talk shit. That's what's fun about fantasy football.
Absolutely.
Being able to talk shit to your friends and have a good time. But at the end of the day, which I hate that saying, this is your team. And if you want to draft all Browns or all Raiders, whatever your team is, you do that. You're not going to win your league, but do that. Have fun with it.
I guess that, that's what it boils down to is what is your goal behind playing in this fantasy league? Because I know people that play in fantasy sports that they'll almost tell you I'm not going to win this thing. I'm just here to have fun. I enjoy the draft. There are people out there that play in fantasy leagues just because they enjoy the live draft. We do one league together where we all get together, 10 of us, we sit down, we sit around a table, we eat, we talk, we drink, we draft our team. That is a lot of fun. It's enjoyable. There are people that get into it for kind of that and the back and forth. Me, I'm in it to win it, man. I don't play fantasy football because I enjoy seeing people. Don't get me wrong, I like all the guys in the league, but most of them I don't talk to outside of the fantasy football league. I'm here to win it.
Yes, you are. Yeah, I would love to win. I'm very competitive, and that's the thing I love about season-long drafts is working the waiver wire. That's my favorite. That's where I think I have an advantage over other people. Although now everybody seems to have the same information that I have. Everybody has information at your fingertips. It's a lot different than it was 10 years ago. Everybody has the same information now. But if I can get that guy, that backup running back, a week before everybody else is like, hey, I need to pick him up, then I got the advantage on you. And that's what I love about fantasy long. To me, that's the difference of best ball and fantasy. I love the drafts, but I like to play the game. And I'm very competitive. I have never won any of the leagues I've been in yet with Ken. I feel like I'm always in the playoffs. No matter how good you are, you got to get lucky too in fantasy.
Oh, absolutely. It's the same. It's just like golf. How many times have I said I'd rather be lucky than good when it comes to golf? Fantasy football is a lot of the same. I mean, you're picking guys based off past performance. You never know when that body is going to break down and the career is over. Like it can happen at the snap of a finger. So you got to hope that the guys that you pick up, that you're mostly using past experience from what their past stats are, looking at what their offense can be. You just got to hope you were right. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I mean, for me, I think my basic draft strategy for a season-long league, whether it be PPR or standard, is I'm waiting on quarterback. That's my strategy. That has been my strategy since I started playing fantasy football. I will not take a quarterback in the first 4 or 5 rounds. It won't happen. The only way I'll take a quarterback in like round 5 is if Aaron Rodgers is still sitting there. Pat Mahomes is still sitting there. Deshaun Watson is still sitting there. It's got to be one of these top 2, 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks in the league for me to even think about taking one that early. I'm going to spend those first 4, 5, 6, 7. I've even waited until the 10th, 11th round to take a quarterback. I'm going to spend those rounds filling my roster with guys that I know have a better chance of producing than their backups or than the next tier down at their position.
Well, like you think about it, like Jared Goff's going real late in drafts. Jared Goff's going to be on one of the best offenses in the league this year
with an amazing receiving core.
Yeah, and he's going 10 rounds after Pat Mahomes. I bet there's not 50 points between the two of them.
Even if there's 100, you'll make that up with the 9 guys you took between them.
Right. That's been my strategy too. And I don't think we've ever really talked about that. We don't really talk about strategy because we're in a lot of the same leagues together. This is the first time I think we've talked about draft strategy.
I think it is too, but I mean, we can sit at the draft and watch what each other are doing, and we know we have the same strategy for the most part. The only difference we really have between each other is who we like and who we don't. Who we're high on and who we're low on. Like you might have, I don't know, you might have Julio Jones higher than I do on your board, or you might have, I don't know, pick some random Derrick Henry. You might be looking at Derrick Henry like, this is a guy I might pick up as my second or third running back, and I'm looking at Derrick Henry like,
oh no, I'm not touching him this year.
If he's there and available at say 6th round or whatever, 7th round, I might take a swing and hope I hit.
I'm also very vindictive in my drafts. Like if I had which I did, I had Julio Jones, I think 3 years ago, and he burnt me.
Yeah.
I mean, he was still good.
Won't draft him again.
He just wasn't worth the first round draft pick.
Right.
I had 5th and 6th round draft picks outscore him that year. Yeah. I'll never draft him again. And that's
never.
That's an issue I have, but I mean, I think a lot of people do. All right. So I think we're going to move on and just when we talk about the auction drafts, we don't really have a lot of players to talk about in this. I just wanted to say, it's just a different format. And if people don't know what an auction draft is, it's just like it's a season long draft, but instead of on most drafts are snake drafts where you pick, you're picking 1 through 12. You have pick 8, so you pick number 8, and then it wraps around and comes back down to you. Then you pick after number 9, so you're going back down. And
Right.
an auction draft, you have a certain amount of money that you start with, and then you have to bid on players as it's your turn, so you nominate a player to be bid on, and then you bid. Everybody gets to bid on that player. So if you throw out Pat Mahomes and you really want him, you have to outbid the last bid, and it's so you have to sit there and fight for the guys, pay as much. Sometimes players can get really expensive in auction drafts.
Have you been in any auction drafts before?
I've been in auction drafts, but I haven't done any this year.
I haven't either.
But the thing is the good thing about auction drafts, I think, is if you really want Zeke Elliott or you really want Saquon Barkley, you can get them in this draft. You can have them both if you want. You just got to pay for them.
And yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say then you only have a little bit of money left to fill out the rest of your roster. But if you have somebody you really want, auction drafts are for you, because in a snake draft you have to have one of the first two picks.
Right. Yeah, the thing with auction drafts, most auction drafts aren't done live, right? They're done on a site somewhere, so the site can monitor the money, because what they will do is, say you have to fill a roster of 14 people. Once you get below, like say you still need 10 people, it won't let you bid higher than what will leave you with $10, because you have to pay at least $1 for each roster spot, and you have to fill your roster. So the one auction draft the most recent one I've done was actually several years ago. It was like Andrew Luck's like second or third season, and it was my dynasty league, and that started as an auction draft. And I wanted Andrew Luck, man. Second or third year of the guy that was, the next coming of Jesus Christ to the NFL, basically.
Right.
So, when it came to Andrew Luck, I did what I had to do to get him. But I think when it comes to actual, what your strategy is behind auctions, I don't know if you do this or not, but this is what I did. Whenever it got to my turn to nominate somebody, I would nominate somebody I didn't want. I would nominate a good player that somebody was going to spend money on that I didn't want, and I would set the starting bid just a hair higher than I was willing to pay.
That's exactly what I do. That's what I was going to say. That's my strategy. When it comes around to me, like people are eating up Drew Brees. A couple of years ago, everybody loved Drew Brees. I don't want nothing to do with him. And I'd throw Drew Brees out there. I'd throw quarterbacks out early, because that forces those people to take quarterbacks way before they should be taken, and it forces people to spend a lot of money.
Yep.
And that's my strategy too. Although I found myself getting into trouble because towards the end of the draft, I have way more money left than I should. So I'm paying a lot of money for guys that are backup. It's very different. You have to really work with it and do them a lot to figure out how much money you want to spend in the beginning as compared to how much money you want to have left at the end.
Yeah, I think if I got into a league that was full of guys that have been drafting the auction style for years, I would be in trouble, because I've only done it a couple times, and I can't remember exactly how it worked with that dynasty. I know I spent more on Luck than I probably should have. I ended up with a decent team. I think I finished like second or third that year, but I know at the end of that draft, I filled my last probably 6 spots with dollar players.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like, holy crap, I've got 6 people left to draft, and I've got $6.
Right. But the good part about that is sometimes in auction drafts, you can end up towards the end of the draft with a lot of people that don't have a lot of money left, and there's still some really good players on the board, and you only got to spend $2 or $3 to get them.
Yeah, I know.
Say the guy that's got the most money left already has both his running backs, and you still got Todd Gurley out there,
Right.
and nobody else has any money. All you gotta do is bid $5.
Right.
So it's fun though. I think I like all draft formats though. The drafting part to me is the most fun, because it's the only thing you really have control over in fantasy football, other than the waiver wire and season long.
Absolutely.
And once the games start, you have no control. You don't have any. It's fun and it's competition, but you're not doing anything. You know what I mean? You're relying on Pat Mahomes to throw 50 touchdown passes instead of playing Madden where you get to throw 50 touchdown passes.
Right.
You know?
It was like, why can I hear myself all of a sudden in your audio? What happened there? Oh, no, I can't. Okay, it's just when you're talking. Never mind. All right. When's the last time you played Madden?
It's been years, man.
I haven't played it in years either. Probably like Madden 16, 17 for me.
20 just came out.
I know. I saw that. It's supposed to be the most realistic yet. You can draft teams on there too.
Yeah, I like it. Quentin and Wick were playing last night. Buster Dennis. Nice. Yeah, they were playing. I haven't even seen it yet, but I don't think I'll play it. I'm kind of over football games.
I'm too busy playing fantasy football.
Right. And so this show, we are definitely going to be doing DFS shows every Sunday morning.
So we decided if we're going to have a specific site we're going to gear that towards. Is it going to be DraftKings? Is it going to be FanDuel? Is it going to be one or the other?
Well, I play mostly FanDuel.
Okay.
But I also think we should talk about DraftKings, like the DraftKings roster. I'll build DraftKings rosters too. We're going to build our rosters. I think what we're going to do is go through all the games, pick out the quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends that we think are going to have good games, pick them out of each game, put them in tiers. I don't want to pick the lineups for anybody or anything like that, but we're going to give you 3 or 4 quarterbacks that we're going to make the pool smaller.
Right.
12 games today. You got 24 people to choose from, 24 quarterbacks. We're going to try to narrow that down, quarterbacks, running backs, and then we'll just tier them off like on FanDuel. This guy's medium price, high price, low price,
right.
Have them in their tiers.
So are we going to have this based off of cash games or GPP?
Well, see, that's what I was thinking is I want to, my cash game strategy is to build the most solid, dependable, reliable lineup that I think is going to score the most points. So I'm looking for floor mostly.
All right. Who's got the highest floor?
In my cash games. And then for my tournament games, depending on the size of the tournament, if they're just regular size tournaments, I use I'll take the core of my cash game and then just try to get home run hitters. You just pull guys out. The lineups aren't that different.
Right.
And then when you get in the big tournaments, you can have your core group of players. Like you really think Pat Mahomes is going to go off and Tyreek Hill. So you got those are your two core players you're playing off of. And then you can interchange guys that you think are going to, that's where you're looking for home run hitters. That guy in your best ball league that's going to have his greatest game ever this week. Tournaments are hard to win. They're impossible to win. You're never going to win one. Like the $1 million maker.
No, the guys that win those are the guys that
they have 200 lineups in.
Right.
But that's not what we're looking for here. I want to basically, I'm doing this for me mostly. because it's going to help for years, I've paid other services for their information and I read their information and I watch their videos and I listen to everything they say. But I've noticed over the last couple of years, I'll have the guys that I'm on, like a list of guys that I really like. I'll have my lineup set, and then I'm getting into the information, the people that I paid for, and I'm thinking in my head, well, these guys are experts, and they're saying this guy isn't going to do what I think he's going to do, so they get me off of a guy that I've been on all week, and then come Sunday, the guy I was on actually has a good game, at least in my mind he does. I don't know in reality, and so this year I thought, I'm not paying anybody this year. I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to do my own thing, and that if I'm going to lose my money, I'm going to lose it because I fucked up, not
on
because
your choices, on your gut.
I paid somebody else to tell me something.
So yeah, that's what this show is going to be moving forward. We wanted to do, this is kind of our pilot episode. This was the one we're using to kind of work out some of the kinks. We wanted to get some information out there because we are in fact doing best ball drafts right now. We're getting ready to do our season long drafts coming up. So just kind of get some strategy out there to you guys. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We will be putting out videos weekly. I don't know if we're going to start next week. Our next video might not be until week 1.
Yeah.
Possibly. But starting week 1, as Steve was saying, starting week 1 of the NFL season, we're going to be based mostly on DFS, daily fantasy football. But yeah, just how we go about breaking down the rosters, breaking down the games, what information that we use. I know, for instance, you use the lines a lot, the Vegas lines, the odds. You look at the over and under scores, things like that. Good offenses playing against bad defenses. So we'll kind of just break it down how we look at the breakdown of the games for that week and decide, all right, this is the type of player we want to start.
So I think it's going to be really cool because we've played fantasy DFS for years now, but we've never built a lineup together.
No, we haven't.
And then this is going to be kind of fun, me bouncing guys off of you, because every week you're always like, huh? What the hell are you on him for?
Right.
And I'm like, are you crazy? Why are you starting that guy? So that'd be fun to go through some of that. And hopefully they'll be a little bit interactive. I think we're going to be live, right?
Yeah, so the goal is we're going to be live on Mixer. We have not created the Mixer channel yet. If you're not familiar with Mixer, it's a streaming service mostly used for gaming. It's like Twitch.tv or YouTube gaming or even Facebook gaming. But we will be on Mixer. We're going to create that channel. We'll make sure we get it out there. This video should go on YouTube. We don't even have a YouTube channel yet. It's probably going to be Fat Boys Fantasy Sports. That's going to be how you're going to find us, unless YouTube decides that name isn't legit for some reason. But yeah, we'll be able to do it live. We'll be able to take questions from the viewers, give them as many answers as we can, and who knows, they might bounce stuff off of us that we don't even see. Right. And the idea is to have that show done, the live version of it done, what little editing we're going to do to the video done, and have the video on YouTube by 11:30 a.m. every Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Yep. I like for these to be about an hour long. If even shorter would be better.
Well, we're going to have to find a way to time ourselves because we went way over an hour on this one, I think.
Yeah, but we like to talk. This is going to be a damn format. We're going this game.
Right.
I'm wanting to build lineups, and I'm wanting to win money. I want to win money this year. I want to have more money in cash games than tournaments. They call them tournaments. And then because the cash games have the top 50 scores that win money.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, and then in a tournament, it's only about 23% of the field wins money.
Right.
So, but I'm gonna try. This is my strategy going in. I'm gonna I have a bankroll of $100. I'm probably gonna have $75 in cash games and $25 in tournaments, and then that way my cash games. I'm not looking to get rich on my cash games. I'm just looking for that to supplement my tournament winnings. Like if I can win back $105, $110, I'd be happy on my cash games and hope that my tournament lineup hits.
All right.
Makes sense. One cash game lineup and probably 2 tournament lineups is probably what I'm going to go with this year.
Sounds about right.
Of course, that could change just depending. But anyways, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And hopefully people will get interactive with us.
For sure.
I hope.
All right. Well,
idiot a lot.
If you guys found this video, you obviously did. If you're watching it right now, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell, and if you got any questions or comments or suggestions, leave them in the comments section below. We'll definitely read them and we will respond to them. If not, by comment, we'll respond in the following episode.
Yes, we will. Thanks for watching.
See you guys.